Veterans advocate Paul Rieckhoff joins us right now. Paul's the host of the Independent Americans podcast. He's founder and CEO of Independent Veterans for America. What about this, Guantanamo's comeback as a facility for migrants?
Optics and politics. We're going to make Guantanamo great again, I guess.
Right.
But I think the point here is that he's made
a good idea practically, or does it not matter?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, it might actually logistically be harder to have them in Guantanamo than to have them on U.S. soil if you wanted to really drill down on it. But I think it's about Trump continuing to show optically that he's strong on the border. He's doing everything he can. He's throwing everything at it, from the 82nd Airborne and the 10th Mountain Division to potentially strikers and bigger vehicles that you might see parading across America, all the way down to activating Guantanamo again. Also, which interestingly is where Pete Hegseth served the deployment himself. So he's familiar with the place. I'm sure he'll be heavily involved and very visible in reigniting Guantanamo.
Yeah, good point. Might have pushed for it, in other words. Yeah, I get your point on the optics, and we talked about this a little bit with just, Tom Homan being out with Dr. Phil or Kristi Noem doing ride-alongs in New York. I get how that could be for show, but you could do something for show and also be doing other things that are for real. In other words, a bunch of stuff could be true at once, and Trump might be having some success on the border, getting done what he wants to get done, and also be doing some stuff for show. They could all can be true, no?
Yeah, they can. I mean, I don't think Kristi Noem riding along with ICE in the Bronx is really making a difference. I think, if anything, they're getting in the way.
Right.
I think that's an issue here you got to take in mind, especially you're talking about.
But I mean, the numbers are going down.
But if they're law enforcement or they're political or they're military people, they kind of don't want the politicians around, and they also don't want to be used as a photo op. And I think that's a consistent pattern here that I'd be cautious about. Guantanamo is very symbolic. It's also got a bad reputation, but it's got a reputation for being a place that's tough on people. Who's going to go to Guantanamo? How do you qualify to get there?
Right.
Why are they going to go there and not somewhere in Texas or even just back to Mexico? What's the cost going to be? There's not a lot of talk about cost lately, and Republicans used to be really focused on that. So I think those are the under-the-hood details that we're not getting in the initial announcement.
If you use the term photo op, it does remind me of something that I wanted to talk to you about anyway, which is General Milley and everything that's been going on there. First, a flashback to his retirement speech, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Let's watch.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Not a Trump fan, certainly, General Milley, and now the Trump administration, the president, Pete Hegseth, taking away his security detail. There's talk that he could be demoted even in retirement. What do you make of all this?
I think it's very, very dangerous. It's uncharted territory. And I think take the politics out of this if you can, and just talk about the national security imperative. He is the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and we're saying he's on his own for security. He's got security because the Iranians want to assassinate him. There's also any number of right-wing extremists, any number of crazies who might just want to take a shot at him because he's been on TV. But he holds in his brain, and as a target himself, an incredible amount of value. We don't want someone being able to take him out, or any other chairman of the Joint Chiefs, or use another example, any former commander-in-chief. Presidents have security details for life for a reason, because it's in our national security interest, and the same should be true of any former chairman of the Joint Chiefs for the same reason. Separate the politics and ask yourself, how would you feel if the Iranians killed him? Because that could happen.
Well, I've heard two issues where Republicans, I saw this on the Sunday shows, Lindsey Graham and others, have been critical of Trump since he started. For the most part, we're really happy with what is going on. He's accomplishing his agenda. But the January 6th pardons, how far he went, and all this stuff with the security details, whether it's John Bolton or Mike Pompeo or this. He's hearing from his own party.
Because they're dangerous. I mean, two January 6th folks have already committed crimes. One got shot by a cop. Another one's a child predator online. I mean, some of these people did bad things and should be in jail, and there's a downstream effect to letting them out. Same thing if you drop security around a chairman of the Joint Chiefs. You got to think these things all the way through, and the political win might be short term, but the long-term damage of saying we won't protect our own is really significant, not just to our political bases, but to our enemies who want to take advantage of it.
No, understood. Now, a final thing is this. You and I have talked about these confirmation hearings. I know you weren't a fan of Hegseth, right? You thought maybe he might not be confirmed. He was. It's possible Trump gets his entire team confirmed. RFK today. Now, the other ones, Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, coming up starting tomorrow, are the question marks. You think he gets his whole team through? Or?
No, I don't. And I think, what I'd go back to is trust. Can you trust these people? And let's use RFK as an example, who you and I have talked about for a while. He was a Democrat, then he was an independent, now he's a diehard Republican. I mean, how can you trust that person on anything? His own family has talked about his lack of integrity and his questionable character. We should have a character and integrity integrity test around whether or not you can trust these people. I think that's going to be the same issue for Kash Patel, the same issue for Tulsi Gabbard. And importantly, when did Republicans get so excited about former Democrats? I mean, if I'm a Republican, I would not be happy with someone like Tulsi Gabbard or someone like Kennedy when you could probably find a much more competent, less controversial Republican to fill that role.
It'll be interesting on the party breakdown for both of those, for Kennedy and for Tulsi Gabbard. You know, if they lose one, gain another. We'll see. All right. Anyway, Paul, thanks as always.
Thank you, Colin.
Paul Rieckhoff there. Coming up.